I had fun making that one ranking video on stuff I watched last summer, so I thought, why not do it again? But this time with the stuff that I watched during winter 2022, and ranking them from worst to best according to my personal tastes, and also adding a few entries from last December, just because. There were some pretty cool things that came out this winter, like Demon Slayer Season 2... I didn't watch that. Again, I have not seen everything, and I may or may not have caught up with some shows, but as for now, let's begin with the worst.
Hello, boys! Buck Wild at your service.
Okay, no joke, I got exactly 23 minutes and 57 seconds in, and I just could not stomach it anymore. Like, really, Disney? You shut down Blue Sky Studios and cancel Nimona, but then you put this crap out? I actually read the graphic novel, and I guarantee you it could have been a masterpiece, but Disney just had to cancel it because reasons. Story-wise, Crash and Eddie wind up in the dinosaur world with Buck Wild looking for a new life. So basically, the third movie all over again, but this time with terrible animation, unfunny quips, and a love interest for Buck for some reason. It's cringy, it's tropey, it's hideous, it's a cash grab mess of a movie. I have not seen Norma the North or Food Fight, but right now, this is my least favorite animated movie of all time. And that might even include Spookly. This is such an unengaging and unfocused movie that doubles as a disappointing reminder that Nimona may never come to life. But at least the creators had fun working on this, I think.
I wanted to explain myself.
Yeah, mansplain, Santsplain, Saint Nick, explain, whatever, there's something there.
Santa Inc. makes X-Arm look like Princess Principal, and it makes Noelle look like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Actually, scratch that. It makes the prince look like Killing Slimes. That's a problem. It does have good-looking stop-motion animation, and that's the only thing I like about it, and even then, some shots just don't work for me. The rest of the show is just so boring and unfunny in its script, and the characters being so dull and blank slate did not help that either. I will say, everybody has been hyping this up as an insufferable disaster, whereas the episodes I've watched so far have just left me really bored. Doesn't change the fact that I now have a new least favorite animated series of 2021. Oh yeah, and I didn't get to watch Fairview, but from its reception and trailer, it would probably be around this spot.
You're human and I'm a monster. It's like Freaky Friday, but on a Tuesday, though.
Ah, yes, the moneymaker to fund the Sony movies and Gendy projects that I actually care about. And it's a road trip movie mashed with a liar reveal plot. Wonderful. There is literally nothing to talk about with this movie except for two things. One, this awful conclusion of the franchise completely forgets that Dracula was cool with Johnny being a human since the second movie. This is character derailment optimized. And two, this went on demand the same day Belle premiered in theaters. A bad movie could be seen in your house, but you would have to drive literal hours to a theater showing a masterpiece that's only there for a limited time. Still worth it since Belle is a movie made for the theaters, but I'd rather watch an easily accessible good movie than an easily accessible bad movie.
There's only one thing left to do.
Take out the principal.
Yeah, you got what? No!
As a series, Big Nate is just so poorly written and child pandering, and as an adaptation, it sucks so much. I guess we'll start there. It has good looking animation, bubble eyes aside, but the writing is just so weird, mostly because these characters just straight up are not the same. Chad is so insufferably dumb, unlike the lovable softie he was in the comics. Francis and Teddy were more cynical and independent in the comics. They were never this loyal to Nate. Nate is just kinda boring in comparison to the clever-witted, level-headed trickster he was, but I really need to give the award for the worst adapted character to Dee Dee, because she is so tame in this show in comparison to the overly exaggerated opera-singing drama queen she was in the comics. Plus, it's not funny. There aren't a lot of jokes so much as there is gross-out humor and weirdly uncomfortable and raunchy imagery. In other words, it's another Nickelodeon series, but at least the animation is kind of good, and Dee Dee, while inferior, is fun to watch, but like, is that it? I don't know how many people are going to watch this video, but what I do know is that so many people love this series, but I just don't feel the same. Keep in mind, while I personally don't think this is a good show, it isn't a bad show either. It's just average, in my opinion. With that said, I do not get the hype behind My Dress Up Darling. Almost nothing about it appeals to me on both a concept and execution level. That by itself would be fine, but here's the thing. I'm looking at all of these reviews online, and I seem to be the only person who feels this way about Dress Up Darling. This show is so confused about what it's trying to be, and in turn, its attempts to blend different tones together make it a complete tonal mess. There are sentimental moments that I do like in a vacuum, but grouped with these incredibly tropey and, let's not kid ourselves, raunchy tidbits, I just cannot take it seriously. But I think that wouldn't be as much of a problem if the characters were actually good. Guess what I think of them? Like I said, they aren't bad, but the characters are just so average. Like, forgive me if the introverted guy has his life changed by token inspirational waifu, or the woes of the geek win over the popular girl, are not some of my personal favorite tropes. But that's just it, it's just insanely not my thing. It's fine if you like it, I don't. Nor do I dislike it. Maybe my mind will change in the future, but for now, I don't care. Too many characters to remember? Sure. Simplified art direction? Yes. Random vignettes that feel like they didn't need to happen? Of course. But dag nabbit, I'm a theater kid, I'm interested in voice acting, and I really like this show. It does such a good job at exploring the varying aspects of acting and vocal recording. There were so many moments that made me incredibly nervous as a performing arts kid, but there were also some triumphant moments that made me feel seen in a lot of ways. And not just that, the characters are pretty fun too. Shiho being my favorite for obvious reasons. The comparisons to Aquatope on White Sand have been noted, rightfully, as well as every other slice of life anime released this season, but honestly, Aquatope has nothing to worry about in terms of this season's contenders. Still, really good show. Also, people watched Aquatope on White Sand, and they consider it one of the best of last year? Huh, I guess it wasn't as underrated as I thought. Speaking of which, watch Aquatope on White Sand. Kamiari Month might be considered an enigma to some, which I can't blame them for. It sure has a lot of expositional dialogue, the art style doesn't come off well in some scenes, and there are definitely plot holes here and there, though every story has plot holes except for the ones that don't. But other than that, I just really love the fantasy elements, the charming chemistry between our characters, and the sentimental message about grief. And on a personal note, I really like how this movie addresses that physical activity can really help your mental health. This is just a cozy and relaxing movie with love and charm written all over it. It's fun, and I like it.
Wonderfully elegant, isn't it?
The family must take up residence in the house.
While it's certainly not as good as Coraline or Wolf House, The House is a magnificent return to form for stop-motion horror. All three entries are beautifully animated, each with their own unique flair, from the haunting darkness of the first entry, the bug motifs of the second, and the misty fog of the third. And as stories, the first story is great at poking at childhood fears, the second story, and the third story is genuinely heartwarming. It's not one of my personal favorite horror works, but it is a pleasant watch. I say pleasant, but it's horror. Akebi is difficult to talk about for me because I don't really know what angle to approach it at. What I can say is that this is another great addition to the Slice of Life library. It certainly looks beautiful in its presentation and art style. Like, complain about pointy noses all you want, but I just love it whenever anime tries to branch out from realistic proportions. The cinematography is also really neat, with a lot of Naoko Yamada influence, though it's safe to say there's being Naoko Yamada and then there's being Dan Schneider, and as a story, it does kind of embody the typical dream girl changes people's lives plot that I usually roll my eyes at. so you can imagine my relief when it makes the dream girl the actual protagonist instead of some random introverted dude, inadvertently making it some sort of pathetically saccharine fantasy. But even without that, Akabe herself is immensely likable and charming, and I just really like seeing these characters be friends with one another and just living everyday life. Is it as good as similar shows like Tamako Market? Of course not, but it's a step in the right direction. Slow Loop is really cute. That pretty much sums up a lot of my thoughts on it. Story-wise, a shy girl named Hiyori meets her soon-to-be stepsister Koharu when her parents are getting remarried, and both find a new purpose in their family by going out fishing. Sure, it sounds predictably saccharine, but it isn't shallow. And neither is the art style. Every moment of peace and quiet feels very cozy and intimate, and you really feel the complicated emotions these characters feel in regards to their new family situation. There's also these somewhat jarring bits of edutainment involving varying aspects of fishing, but it's thankfully not jarring enough to kill the tone. There is one part of the show I really like, and that's the episode where we get to know this one little girl who's faced bad faith judgments by her peers at school for being a girl who likes to do things that many perceive as boy things. And it's done so subtly and not in your face that it really tugs at your heartstrings. This show is just really cute. Please give it a watch.
What a positively yellow idea. Hooray.
No. Together. Everyone ready? Hooray!
You know, it's incredible. I don't like a single one of them.
So this kinda dropped out of nowhere, and it might be one of my new favorite inanimate insanity episodes. The challenge itself was pretty funny. It's always nice to see Nickel be so done with everyone. I never would have seen that plot twist with Bo coming. Cabby's in this episode, which kind of sucks, but thankfully I won't have to see her stupid face anymore. Man, that ending was so satisfying. And overall, this was just a really fun episode. Fathom and Co., you did a great job. Also, some new episodes of Molly McGee came out, but I'm putting them off till spring because more will be out by then. If it was on this list, it would probably be around this spot. Okay, moving on.
Okay, I'm almost there. I think the biggest surprises are behind me. Dude, I warned you. I said I was gonna do that if you did that again.
Smiling Friends is freaking wild. I genuinely do not know how else to describe it. It is a fever dream. It is a deranged experience, a game changer in the adult animation field. It's funny, it's dark, it's just bizarre. I don't know how else to say it. Like, go watch Smiling Friends. What could possibly be better than this? You know, aside from these doohickeys. I don't think I've ever brought this up before, but I really love Princess Connect, and Season 2 so far has just been amplifying my attachment to it. The return to form with that Season 2 premiere was great, giving us more time to explore this unique fantasy world, and then Episode 2 right away dives into more plot, including some more time developing one of my favorite characters of the entire show. But that's kind of where my issues lie with the series. Honestly, I haven't really been that interested in the story direction. I mean, it's building up to some big climactic battle. What well-known anime isn't doing that nowadays? That's not to insinuate that the story is unengaging, but I'm honestly more interested in just exploring this fantasy world with so many different kinds of food, laughing along with the hilarious comedy, and getting to know these lovable and adorable characters. It's all just so peaceful and relaxing. I still like the story, and I'm still interested to see where it's going, but I'm perfectly fine with just vibing around this world. It's nice.
Well, if you're looking for fun!
Yes, we're looking for fun.
Cuphead Show is so much fun. This is most likely the best video game adaptation I've ever seen. It is just so refreshing and exhilarating to see wacky cartoon characters do wacky cartoon shenanigans. The look is cute and charming, the music and sound effects are filled to the brim with classic cartoon references, as well as references to the game, and the voice acting is incredible. And oddly enough, Mugman stole the show in this series. Who would have thought? I just really love what this represents, and I'm all for it. It is such a good time. I literally have no words for this. Fueled is one of my favorite animated short films of all time. It is superb in its visual storytelling, from the cinematography to the colors, the shading, the expressions, and everything in between. It all tells its story in such a subtle and melancholy way that it brings tears to my eyes almost every time. Depicting a message about losing a loved one, this short just broke my heart in a multitude of ways. I wish I could erase it from my memory so I could watch it for the first time again. Please watch this on YouTube. It is just so beautifully made.
One day. That's actually a nice thing to hear. Tomorrow, the next day, something's waiting in the future. A little light in the darkness.
Okay, so I kinda messed up. Heike Story was already out by November last year, so technically it's a 2021 series, but it aired on TV this January, so technically it could be classified as a 2022 series, but we can resolve that at a later date. Aside from that, the Heike Story is beautifully heart-wrenching. A gorgeously animated, masterfully constructed, emotionally rich, and powerful retelling of the tale of the Heike, which people who actually know the story will have to tell me how faithful it is. But yeah, it's just an amazingly immersive and historically authentic story. I felt like I was in this setting. I loved the characters. I didn't want any of them to go away. In a way, it kind of reminded me of To Your Eternity. Except better, don't at me. Jokes aside, please give this a watch. I really don't want to say anything else since I went into it blind, and that's probably for the best. Plus, I plan on making a separate review video for it later. Great job, Naoko Yamada. You've done it again.
Welcome to the world of you.
I cannot stress enough how much of a miracle this movie is. In a time where the internet is slowly becoming a toxic part of our lives, Belle comes in and reminds us that it is not 100% bad. There is genuine good in everything and everyone, and it's up to us to bring that goodwill out. Not only that, it's just a beautifully crafted cinematic masterpiece. Almost every shot and frame is stunning to look at, the world of view is impeccably designed, and the character animations are downright godly. The story beats are well crafted, as well as the character work, which is just brilliant. I love almost every single one of these characters. I'm gonna remember Suzu and the Beast until the day I die. Speaking of which, the music is just phenomenal. Nakamura and Kylie really gave it their all in their respective performances, and Lend Me Your Voice is one of the best scenes in anything ever. For that moment alone, I would put this movie on a pedestal and shove it into literally everybody's faces. But everything else about the movie is still just as beautiful, and for that, it really deserves the #1 spot on this list, and it will probably remain the best movie of the year. Please watch Belle when it finally comes out on digital. It is totally worth it. And as said, I didn't get to watch everything this winter. I really wanted to watch Orbital Children, Vox Machina, Hilda and the Mountain King, and the 3rd season of Kid Cosmic, but just for the sake of my schedule and my sanity, I'm going to have to check them out at a later date. And hey, this spring we're getting a lot of great movies and shows like Owl House and Amphibia, Bad Guys, Sonic 2, Aharon-san, Komi Season 2, and Turning Red. That'll probably be the next video. Tell me what you watched this winter and what was your favorite. Thank you for watching and catch you next time.